I just had an FBI expert on saying that after 6 months, they have to drop investigations and surveillance into these would-be attackers that keep slipping through. What's a solution that could help them?
Well, for one, good evening to you, Charles. First of all, we really need more resources on the federal level, and that's something that, unfortunately, I don't think the Obama administration has provided. I mean, you hear that all across the country, Charles, when we look at each one of these cases and we see where the ball was dropped, so to speak. Case in point, look at this guy, Omar Mateen, down at the Pulse nightclub. You know, we were following that guy for a period of time, but the resources ran out. Look at the Sarnea brothers in Boston. The resources ran out. So until we get leadership in this country, Charles, that's willing to put forth the amount of resources necessary, financial resources, manpower, and things of that nature, we're going to continue to lose these types of individuals. One last thing real quick, Charles. Let me tell you, this guy, Raheem, from today, he's not the last one walking around. There's a lot of other individuals like that we really need to be going after right now.
Steve Rogers, his ex was contacted today. It was his high school sweetheart. She said, you know, the guy he came back. Every time he came back home from Afghanistan, he was different, had more animosity and hatred toward the American culture. But she says she never thought he would cross the line, although she said afterwards it looks like he must have been brainwashed. She knew something was wrong.
Well, that's exactly right. And to Rod's point about how do we find out if something's wrong, those resources that Rod is talking about must go down to the local police department. It's all about actionable intelligence and information that local cops can get. And as Rod said, the federal government, if they send the resources to local police departments who can build these little intelligence units in their police departments, gather it, collect it, analyze it, we may be able to prevent a lot of these things. And one more point, and I think it's very important, Charles, an individual like the one in Minnesota and these other terrorists, they should be treated as military combatants. They should never see a civilian court. The battlefield is no longer in the Mideast. The battlefield is here on our streets.
No, Rod, to that point, I know there's a territorial thing. We saw it in 9/11 between the larger federal agencies, CIA, FBI. Even if they had communicated, we could have prevented that. Now we're saying, hey, we want the federal government to participate or bring in local law enforcement. I agree with you guys, but how realistic is it that will happen?
You know, I think it's very realistic, actually, Charles. I think it really just comes down to who's in the White House and where they put their priorities. You know, let me just say this real quickly. I heard my co-panelist, Steve Rogers, make a statement earlier today, and I heard him make this statement before, and he's 100% on point. You know what he said? He said, we are at war in this country. And I could not have said it any better than the way he said it. He's right about that. So what does that mean? If we are at war in this country, that means that ISIS, AQ, AP, and all these other groups, they're here at our homeland. So what are we going to do about it? And what I'm saying, and I think what my colleague Steve is saying, is we got to have the resources to stop these individuals in their tracks. Yeah. Charles, if we don't do that, let me tell you, we're going to repeat what happened in Manhattan yesterday.
Guys, thank you both very much. And for the audience, just so you know, according to the Linden, New Jersey mayor's office, the officers shot Officer Angel Padilla. He's been with them for 20 years. He was shot in the abdomen. He was wearing a vest. And investigator Pete Hammer, he served 25 years. A bullet grazed his head. We want to give him a shout out and say our prayers are with him and thank him very much.